Hey, this is Alpha. Yesterday, OpenAI dropped Sora, the long debuted model back, announced in February. It is finally out. It is end of December, and I am excited to share my thoughts on it, but this video is about another model. Why? Because I'm not able to access Sora model at this time, so I will give my thoughts on the latest model by Tencent and share why million-dollar brands should use video models like Sora or the newly released Tencent model in the meanwhile to generate marketing content, generate educational videos, and really transform how they run their content generation workflows. For those curious, check out openai.com/Sora, the place to go to learn more about it. But as I mentioned, this video will focus primarily on the Tencent release. So here is the Tencent official website for that. And it is talking about the release of a model called Hunyuan video. And I apologize if my Chinese is half correct, but I do think that Hunyuan video is the next best thing to focus on, and this video will explain details about it. I will dive into the available resources that Tencent has shared, the pros and cons against the Sora model, and also describe how, if you're a brand, how you can use the model today. So I'll start by playing a video here, 18 seconds. This is the video that they have shared publicly for what looks like to be hand-picked videos, clips. It seems like most of these are between 3 to 5 seconds. Some are focused on nature, some are focused on realism, some are focused on animation, in this case a penguin, or anthropomorphism like the cat walking down the street, a halo suit running by, a person underneath a water walking with a mask. So this is just a few examples of what they share, and of course you can learn more by visiting their official landing page. I'll quickly scroll down to give attention to a few elements that I think are important. This is a open source model. So this is one of the biggest differences between the new OpenAI release and Tencent. Because it's open source, brands have more freedom, whether it's creative freedom or freedom in the ability to generate videos. And for that reason, this model is a great fit for anyone who's interested in content creation or generation today. Now, this model is very good at realism, as you've seen, but it can also do dynamic shots, fast-moving shots, or action shots. It's great for doing videos of people, and generally understands physics or concepts quite nicely. If I scroll down, of course, just to kind of go through what they're showing here is to emphasize that, pay attention to this one video. It is a person that's in the gym and they're working out. I will take this prompt and I will rerun it against my own generations to see how it performs. That way we can see that there's a difference between hand-picked videos and kind of randomly generated or using random seeds. So if I scroll down here, you see that they understand Chinese culture quite nice, because they are a Chinese company. Of course, for those who are not aware, Tencent is a Chinese multi-glamorate brand, just like Google and Alphabet. They have strong cultural ties in the Chinese language and Chinese culture, and for that reason, they understand And then the second thing I'll mention here about that is my understanding is that they have a translation behind the scenes happening from English to Chinese or Chinese to English. So keep that in mind. I haven't tested the Chinese prompts for this model yet, but I do anticipate that there will be a difference between typing in English, like you see here, and typing in Chinese. And then beyond that, what they describe here is essentially what they release publicly. It can do not just video, but it can also do voice, which is quite nice. And beyond that, they also show that it can also handle facial expression quite nicely. So on the left is a reference image or image as an input. In the middle is a video, and on the right is the AI generated video. So you can see that from where a person is, meaning an image and a video, it combines these two to create this. So this is an image plus a video to video model. Of course, there's other examples here. This is another great illustration. This is an image. In the middle, you have a control net or pose net that essentially is showing the skeletal structure of a human dancing. In this case, the statue, which is an image, starts to embody that. And this is a sneak peek of what they will release. Both the first one, image plus video, and this one, which is image plus control net for the ability to control what these models are able to do. And of course, this model can also do more advanced things like take a person as an image, take a video that is of a person singing, and just replicate that into another video. So if I scroll down here, you see, they do have a community, and they are quite open about what they're working on. So now I want to dive deeper into these links because they're quite impactful. And that is, the first is the official Hugging Face HF release for this video. You can basically find the model cards. You can download it. Everything that you see here is open source, and they are releasing more and more over time. So by the time you watch this video, their plan, or as they call open source plan, will perhaps be fully complete here. In the meanwhile, they've released the inference or the generation model, the checkpoints to be able to replicate what they've done. And they also will release benchmarks shortly. They have already done benchmarks themselves against the major video generators, including Klein, including others in the space. And then you also have the release of ComfyUI, which is a great creative workflow application that allows anyone to replicate what other hosted solutions have done, like replicate, but in a way that gives creators more control. And of course, diffusers is a great machine learning framework for going deeper into the programmatic access of this model. The piece that I'll mention here, at the moment, they've released the text to video model. So this is the basics of describe what you want, click to generate an image. And they are on the road. There is on the road plan the idea to release an image to video model. This is important because this is how you can give an image as a reference, as I've shown you in the previous examples, and then you can generate a video from that reference image. It's quite powerful. I believe this will be the most impactful release they will do for Tencent in the ability for brands to really dive deeper into this. Beyond that, the official release by ComfyUI, and of course, you don't see here, but I do expect that with ComfyUI release, we will see ControlNet as well. Of course, you can learn more about what they describe. They do have an open source approach in their release, which means they have a paper that dives into that. Just to quickly spotlight the incredible work they've done. If we dive deeper into their implementation, and I quickly scroll to the bottom here, we notice that they actually use a dual encoder architecture for their release, which can be seen here. You have what they call diffusion backbone, the ability to use different input streams for their data. So one is you have a clip large encoder, and you have a multimodal large language model, and both of these encoders are used to improve the quality of the generations, and I'll show you what they look like side by side. So if I jump to the next link here, this is the inference code and the checkpoints that we've seen. And of course, if we go back to Hugging Face, we see something similar here. So if we click on the files and versions, and we're seeing that here is the first release they've done. This is 1280 by 720, or simply 720p quality video generating both transformers and VAEs, which are both models necessary to generate videos, released last week. And roughly, if we click on one, we're going to see that this is a 25 gigabyte file that you need to have enough stores to run. And of course, this is roughly a 10 gigabyte, or rather 1 gigabyte. So total sort of footprint of this is 26 gigabytes. So you do need that space to be able to run at least the model on your computer. And I'll show you what the requirements look like as well. And beyond that, if we jump into the official repository, you're going to notice a couple things that are quite useful, which is that they allow you to have the ability to do inferencing in parallel now. This is a new release as of 3 days ago, so this is something that is quite useful to speed up the workflows as well. Parallelization of inferencing is quite powerful, and of course they now means that this also implies that you can now generate videos on multiple GPUs as well, and I'll show you what that looks like on one GPU so you have a better understanding. If I scroll down, you're going to see a very similar overview of what I showed you for the architecture. They do a quick comparison. This is part of the benchmark release that they mentioned before, where they look at the Hunyuan video, and that is able to generate 5-second clips. It has a really good alignment for prompt adherence, and according to this benchmark, of course, not biased, they are ranked number 1. They compare against other models like Gen 3, but of course, this is a very small comparison, and I'm curious to see more tests like this. If we look at the requirements, I think this is important. If you're a brand and you're asking yourself, how do you run this? Here's what you need to know. As I've mentioned, this is 720p quality, 129 frames is what this is able to generate, which roughly translates to 5-second clips. Do keep in mind that at the highest resolution, this takes about 60 gigabytes of memory use. Very important if you need to be able to meet this spec. You need to have at least H100s or higher for your graphical processors, and keep in mind any number above 60, ideally they recommend 80 for the best possible generations. And of course, this is something that is going to evolve. This is just their first release for text to video. They do need CUDA, so keep in mind NVIDIA here is having a party thanks to the CUDA requirements, but I it's important to mention these requirements here. So of course, there's instructions on how to install it for both the Linux environment, the pre-trained models. The piece that I'll mention here is not the command line interface to run it, but the instructions to be able to set up a pre-trained model. So if you go to the official website and you see the checkpoint, you're going to see the instructions of how they tell you to set it up. Here is kind of the suggested file structure, and you have the commands to be able to download the model from Hugging Face, of course. But here I'll mention something quite important, which is you can also get the suggestions on how to get the text encoders set up yourself if you're not just following the Hugging Face CLI. A couple of things that are useful to understand about this model. As I mentioned, the dual encoder means that they are they're using not only their own models, but also other party models. In this case, they've used the Meta Lava 3 model. So if I open that up here quickly, you see it's a fine-tuned version of the Meta 3 A to B instruct model, which is an earlier release, which is quite nice. This is part of the reason why this model does very well, is because the language model, the encoder, is also open source. The clip model is, of course, by OpenAI, so they've used the clip VIT large, and this is quite useful for that. So a couple things that I'll just to show you what that looks like. I see a comparison between these models, including Hunyuan and Sora by a brand called Checkbin, so shout out to them. I'll give them a star to support them. Here's a few example videos. So on the left is Sora, and on the right is Hunyuan, and you can see that it's really good. They're both performing well. Here is forest flyover or drone shot. Here is another one for videos of birds. And of course, if you go to this website, you can do full screen and you can see the side-by-side comparison. The last piece I'll mention here is I took that previous prompt, I regenerated all of the videos as I've promised, and I tested 2 platforms. Of course, not running ComfyUI, just to use third-party platforms. Here is Fel, and Fel is able to generate a video that takes roughly 40 American cents to generate, and it took roughly 4 minutes. And if we take that previous prompt and we push it into replicate, we're going to see that this replicate that's running on H100 hardware is actually still generating. So hopefully within a minute or two, this will show me an update. But all I did is I took that previous prompt in Fel. You only define the seed. In replicate, you can define negative prompt, which is quite nice. You can define lots of more parameters. And in this case, there's that video. So again, same prompt. One is Fel, one is replicate. Fel took 4 minutes. Replicate took 30. So fastest publicly available platform today is Fel. Now we do see replicate is running H100, but unfortunately I don't know what Fel is running, so which can explain why they're generating faster. As I mentioned before, the GPU is the biggest requirement here, so if they're using more than 60-80 gigabytes of VRAM, then this will come back faster. So this will also explain why Fel is overperforming on the expectation compared to replicate. And in this case, of course, other parameters include the dimension sizes, which are important to generate either 480p or 720p quality. You can control how long the duration is here, which is quite nice. 129 frames roughly translates to 5 seconds. You have inference steps, is how long the inference is sort of running until it stops. So in this case, 50 is the default, 1 is the minimum. So keep experimenting with this feature to see if your quality and your realism will be affected. I anticipate that depending on what you're generating, this will have an impact. And of course, seed is what you saw for FAL. Being able to control the starting point of that text is quite nice. And beyond that, flow shift and embedded guidance scale are two things that are just kind of convenient to have, thanks to the Replicate team, to be able to guide these models. So how well it's able to essentially follow your prompt, and as well as the creative freedom it has to explore other prompts. This is simply taking the prompt from what we copied and pasted before, and in both cases there is no enhancements. So keep in mind, this is just sort of the what you see is what you get, and the result here is in both cases 5-second long videos that are generated. So if you're a brand and you're looking to quickly use text to video models today, like Hunyuan or Sora, if you have access to, this is a great starting point. As I mentioned before, I do think that if you start using these brands today, you will greatly improve your content generation workflows. And I'm very excited to see the progression of these models. And I can see the roadmap that will really improve these workflows will be with ComfyUI, official release, of course. There are now third-party releases available, but official release would be quite nice. And beyond that, the image to video model for this will be quite transformational. The one thing I do not see here as part of their plan is video to video. It is already possible to do video to video as part of the ability to use this model, but you just don't see it on this plan here. So image to video is coming up, ComfyUI is coming up, and multi GPU also would be quite nice to be able to save on inference speed here. If you are in the space, if you want to create contents like this, fastest way to do so is with running FAL, which takes about 4 minutes. If you don't know what to type here as an image, as a text prompt, you can always use a large language model like Llama 3, for example, to generate that type of prompt, and then you can use those prompts in this text to video model. If you have any questions about what I've described, feel free to let me know. If you want to generate more content, more AI content, more content like this, please let me know. If you see yourself adapting, whether it's AI video models or AI image models, then I'm happy to create more videos like this so that you are more informed. I appreciate your time. Until next time.